Okay, hey everyone, welcome to lesson 2 of Magical Hebrew. I have to say I am very grateful for all the feedback and all the support I've gotten in response to lesson 1. Um, I know I've spread it a bit wider than my normal audience, and welcome to all the new folks who are kind of checking out some of my lessons and some of my teaching for the first time. It's really exciting to have so many new folks joining us and joining our community. Speaking of community, be sure you're following the links. We have a Discord. We have obviously my main presence is on Instagram, and I'm also kind of creeping over to Reddit too. So let's keep this discourse going. Let's keep this connection going. Let's keep these conversations going, because I'm really opening a lot of things for us to explore in these talks. And let's continue exploring them. There's by no means are they bounded only to our sessions here. My hope is that we'll be practicing and engaging and enriching far beyond these sessions, far beyond these sessions. So we're going to dive right into it today. Last week, we looked at the names of the letters and their pictographic symbols, right? As we learned, every letter represents something pictographically, and we kind of started to expand that ideographically at the end of last lesson with sort of the 2-letter combinations. So this lesson, we're going to start to look at the pronunciation, the sound of Hebrew. This is a big one for me in occult circles. I touched on it last week a little. I told the story about when I went to Boda and was kind of like appalled to hear their Hebrew. I will say that the most poignant example of Hebrew mispronunciation seems to happen from people who are practicing with Godfrey Selig's Secrets of the Psalms and pronouncing the holy names as they're transcribed in English letters. And they come across that one holy name that is written out Elchad, and they say El Chad. And of course, there's no CH sound in Hebrew. It is El Had. And that makes more sense. But that basic misunderstanding of how Hebrew sounds is the basis of that error. Significant error, like not insignificant error. So what I want to start with today is talking about the importance of voice in magic, the importance of pronunciation in magic. I know a lot of folks just want to be having fun with their magic. And to be frank with you, this is probably not the class series for you. Find a teacher who's not a Virgo. I tend to take this stuff pretty seriously because I know that in antiquity it was taken seriously. The reverence that we give it and the seriousness that we put on it is a portion of the power and intention that we impart. So we're going to dive right into it, like I said, about voice and pronunciation in general, in terms of just basics, physics. Then we'll move into the magical application. And then with those things in mind, we'll start to look at the Hebrew vowels, Hebrew pronunciation, and we'll get into the practice. And that will basically round out today's session. I think we'll be a little shorter than last week, but who knows? So I want to speak first about the voice as a fingerprint of the soul. And let me go ahead and share screen with you guys. And you can follow along on the presentation with me here. Cool. So I want to start speaking about voice as the fingerprint of the soul. And I want to really examine all the things that come into voice. Now, I am hopeful that a speech pathologist will view this video and educate us all in the comments, because I am not that, and I am not a professional and I have not put in the schooling towards the complete understanding of how the human vocal anatomy and voice acoustics work. I've learned it a bit in anthrolinguistics courses, enough for me to be able to Google it enough to share with you guys. But if you happen to be a speech pathologist and you have corrections or more information to give us, please drop it in the comments when we present this video online. So that said, I want to talk about voice as a fingerprint of the soul, because voice fundamentally becomes or holds an expression, I should say, of our emotion and our physical state at all times. I'll pause here and say that our physical state is a register for our emotions, a register in the sense of computers, not in the sense of retail stores. But what those have in common is they store values. right? The cash register in a retail store stores the value of the money, and the register in a computer stores a value of a calculation. And our bodies store the values of our emotional experience. This is going to be really important because we're going to look more deeply in a moment as to how our bodies input into the sound we produce, but simply knowing that the emotions that our souls experience are placed into our bodies in physical ways. Those of you who have taken some of my other courses may have seen some of my material on the organs and the emotions. That's one of the connections. Of course, those organs are then connected to meridian lines that run throughout our body. So those emotions spill over through those meridian lines and cause things to occur throughout the body. Moreover, and expanding the point, and maybe making it hopefully a little more realistic, you can tell by a reaction face what somebody's feeling. I know this because memes work, right? How do memes work? Memes work based on the fact that you're looking at a reaction face. You're looking at a face, an expression, a movement a body is making. And from that, you're determining the feelings involved. So how does that all then add up? Well, it's so fundamental that we take it for granted. But anyone who's done like telemarketing work or anything like that has thought about this probably at least once, in that when we speak, we convey a great deal just through the sound of our voice. You can probably tell, and I'm going to slide off camera intentionally here. So you can probably tell, I'm going to try to change my face and see if you can pick it up in my voice. And you guys can feel free to type this in chat if you can guess the expression I'm making on my face now. I'm going to cover the camera just to be sure. Hold on. Okay, I'm going to talk now. And what kind of expression do you think I'm making right now? If you guys can tell. Somebody get this in the chat. I don't have any prizes for you guys, so you just have to guess for the love of frown. That is correct, Isaiah. You correctly identified it. And what about now? Can you tell what kind of face? Oh, I've got to cover the camera. What kind of face I'm making now? Hopefully you can tell. Hopefully the camera doesn't pick it all up. A smile, yeah, and you could hear that, right? You didn't need to see that. So there's a connection. We just proved there's a connection between physicality, that was just the facial muscles, and sound. Now that goes even further. If I'm sick, you can hear that. You probably could hear right now that my nose was a little bit stuffed. If I have something impacting my breathing, you'll be able to hear that. Meaning if I'm wheezing or gasping or whatever, that's going to come through in my voice. Moreover, if I am holding tension in any part of my body, if I'm holding pain in any part of my body, if I'm holding a blockage in any part of my body, that will cause a cascading series of physical effects that will manifest in my voice. There are experts at this. One of the best experts you can find, and maybe if we have a little time at the end here, I will show you Mr. Darren Brown, the expert at reading people's voices, and with no psychic or magical gifts whatsoever, just using this deductive science and this rather ancient skill, tell everything about a person. I will, and he freely admits he has no special gifts. It is a skill he learned. There's no magic involved. So hopefully we'll have a little time for that at the end. In the meantime, take my word on it, and I'll send you the link later. Knowing that that's the case, then, our voice captures the whole state of our body and the whole state of our soul, because the soul invests itself in our body, right? The emotions of the soul enter our physical register of our body and then project out through our voice. You can tell if someone's tired. You can tell if someone's awake. You can tell all sorts about a person based on their voice alone. Now, that's just the output aspect of it, just the output aspect. Now we can talk about the input aspect on reality of the voice, because we don't think of sound as a physical thing, but indeed it is, right? Well, we hear, and we'll look at this in a little more detail, and hopefully the speech pathologists will correct everything I give wrong here. what we experience as sound that carries meaning, significant, rich meaning, is actually energy moving through air, right? If we are in a vacuum, if we put on spacesuits and go into space and clap our hands in the vacuum of space, that makes no sound. That makes no sound because there's no air to vibrate. So what we hear is vibrations. And so if we are experiencing vibrations, then vibrations are things anything can experience. Water experiences vibrations. Glass experiences vibrations. Perhaps you've seen a video of someone breaking a glass with their voice. That's because it's not the sound that breaks the glass. It's not the actual meaning of that noise. It is the energy of that noise. So when we create sound in our bodies, with our bodies, that is the focused, energetic expression of our entire body and soul. Wow, that's deep. Every single thing we vocalize is that. Every single thing we vocalize. And so how we vocalize becomes especially important. How we vocalize is how we express through our sound. And just as you could tell my facial expression before, probably even when I was frowning, you could tell I wasn't actually sad, right? I was making a frowny face and you could hear that. But my mood is happy. My voice is nonetheless ebullient. I'm not speaking in a really sad way, it's just a quiet, sad way, right? I'm happy, I'm energized. There's a different energy being expressed there. And so now we come to bring together the complete soul with the spirit. Of course, the spirit resides in the breath, where we get the word inspiration from, respiration, spiritus, right? The spirit is in the breath, the ruach in Hebrew. And in that breath, we, with our voice, we bring together the body, soul, and spirit to directly affect reality, all of reality, because those waves, to be very precise, those waves don't just go as far as hearing goes. They attenuate, they become lesser and lesser and lesser and lesser and lesser, but they extend out through reality. Everything we vocalize. So when I say that I think it's important to do it with intention and do it accurately, it's with all that in mind, right? I think it's very, especially in ritual, it's very important to use the voice as a tool with skill and intent. So now we'll look a little and contemplate the significance of vocalized sound. As I say, these are just some graphics I ripped off of Google Images about voice acoustics. And again, this is where the speech pathologist will know much more than me. I'm more a reading graphs kind of guy. But I want to point out with my little arrow here, this right here. Think about the difference between the word had and the word heard and how that feels in your mouth. Go ahead and say it. Had, heard. Now look at the shape of the sound wave. Had, heard. Right? You're actually projecting something out. And you can tell the difference in the sound wave between had and heard. This is a vocal anatomy model here. Right? It's showing the vocal anatomy. This is the shape of your vocal tract when you say had, and this is the shape of the vocal tract when you say heard. And we can look at the difference in the sound wave, though, down here. There's a difference of something that simple in your mouth. You making this much difference in the mouth makes this much difference in the energy of the universe. And what's fascinating to me is, for those of you on a small screen, you may have a hard time with this, but on a large monitor, you should be able to see, if we look at the time interval here, where the difference in these two sound waves is. There's one sort of between the 2 and 3 millisecond point, right? Between 2 and 3 here. 2 and 4, excuse me, here. It's rather different than 2 and 4 over here. and the same area of difference on this wave and this wave, and then again at the end, right? So it is literally the difference in the shape of the vocal anatomy, which we don't even think about. Our vocal anatomy is something we know how to operate without any conscious effort for the most part. Nonetheless, we form these shapes with our vocal anatomy, and it causes the air in the room around us to vibrate differently according to that shape. It's incredibly powerful. And now we can look on the right here, and we're just seeing the difference between how the different features of vocal anatomy on their own affect the sound wave, right? So even our breathing, even having our mouth open versus having our mouth closed, having our throat open versus having our throat closed, all has an impact on all this. And when we look into studying different bodily practices, be it yoga or different practices of chanting and things of this nature, these unconscious aspects of the self are brought more and more into conscious awareness and intentional use. And I want to say that, especially in the context of a class of any language for magic, but particularly Hebrew, it's really important to have these things in mind. Our efforts in our speech is consequential. So I wanted to share this video with you guys. This company made I think they call it a cymatoscope. But so Cymatics is a very interesting field of study where they will take a glass plate and put sand on it and play a sound through it. And we'll be able to see a visual result of the sound wave. Because of course, in the models we're looking at here, the sound waves are just two-dimensional. But we don't live in a two-dimensional space. So what does it actually look like three-dimensionally? That's where Cymatics comes in. And so this is just showing the different vowel sounds, how different they are energetically, literally in the energy that leaves your mouth, that gets picked up by microphones and everything else in the room. This is allowing us to actually see it so we can comprehend it a little more richly. I'll full screen it for us. Won't let me full screen it, bummer. So I want to point out she's scanning through the various vowels. And I'm mostly doing this because when I post this video on YouTube, I don't want to get flagged. But you can see the difference in the shape, in the rate of vibration. The mathematics are totally different. We call these vowels, but what they actually are these different patterns in sound, right? So when we see it visually, we can really, really tell, oh, there's a significant difference here between these things, between these vowel sounds, between, as we saw before, the quality of our voice, our physical posture, our vocal anatomy, our mood, our state of mind, our physical health and state. All these things are reflected in our pronunciation. And so when we talk about doing things with intention, particularly when we start looking into Judaic magic, Hebraic magic, we find this concept of kavanah, intention. And kavanah is in how much thought and how much consideration and how much due focus we place in every action in ritual. It can be a very, very, very simple action done with thorough kavanah, and that's incredibly powerful. And this is not just a Jewish concept. We see virtually the same principle at play in the Zen tea ceremony, where it's just serving tea, but it's done with this profundity of awareness and presence, and that brings it great power. So with that said, and with that as a framework and maybe an ideal to work with and work against, let's move into the body of today's class, pronouncing the Aleph Bet. I'm grateful to say we have many more people with us live today than we did last week. So if you're with us live, you can feel free as we get into this practice part to unmute and just shout out answers as you know them. Everybody's on the same team here. We're all trying to figure this out together. I'm going to go through the vowels. We went through the letters of the Aleph Bet last week. If you've seen the recording or with us live, you know the letters. If not, it's okay. We're going to review them again today. But I want to go over the vowels. I really want to pick up where we left off because I omitted the vowels or told you guys the vowels last week, but I want to look at it a little more closely. So the vowels in Hebrew, as we said, don't go in line with the letters. They're not part of the sentence. As we said last session, Hebrew, because of the technology of the time, had to be a very efficient written language. We didn't even talk about the cost of parchment because that involved a whole animal to even get your paper to write on, let alone the ink, let alone the effort. So the way that was done was by omitting the vowels. And even in English, as we saw, we can read perfectly fine without the vowels. We might make a little mistake here or there, but for the most part, if you know a language, you can read it without the vowels. So the vowels are now much more common to help people who didn't know the language. And now they're fairly common, although newspapers in Israel in modern Hebrew are still printed without vowels, and the Torah is still written without vowels. But in schooling, children read with vowels, and in the prayer book, there's vowels. So we'll look at the vowels and we'll do a little analysis, again, bearing in mind all the stuff we just saw. Our first vowel is this, Cymatics. It looks like a little T. It goes under the letter. If you can see in the image here, sorry, let me get my pencil. There we go. If you can see in the image here, there's an Aleph that's very grayed out in the background. Hopefully you guys can see it. That's going to show you where the vowel is placed in relation to the letter. So here, Cymatics is under the Aleph, or under any letter that it is affixed to. So the way that it's read is generally letter to vowel, consonant to vowel, and then up to the next consonant, to the vowel, to the consonant, to the vowel, to the consonant, to the vowel. If we were going to do this in English, I like practicing this with letters that we know. I'm going to write it so it's going to be a little sloppy. Let me change my little nib here. And I'm going to write it right to left, but I'm going to write it in English letters so we can practice this. I'm going to try very basic. And we're not going to use Hebrew vowels. We're going to use English vowels. We're just practicing the reading pattern right now. Okay. Now remember, Hebrew goes right to left. Consonant, vowel, consonant. Who would like to read what I just wrote? Anyone? Come on. I know Isaiah's going to do it if no one else is. Let me make sure that I've given you guys access to unmute. Make sure you can. Yes, you can unmute yourselves. Okay. So feel free. Somebody who wants to read it. It goes right to left. Consonant, vowel, consonant. Do, do, do. All right, I'll do the first one. Then you guys are going to do the second one. This says dog. That one was tricky because you weren't sure if it said God or dog. That's why I started with that one. Let's do an easier one. Who wants to do that one? I gave you guys the last one.
Cat.
Cat. There you go. Thank you, Michael. Well done, sir. So now we'll get trickier, okay? Now, I want to remind you, the vowels are phonetic, so the spelling would change from English to Hebrew. But if the vowel doesn't go in English, sometimes we put vowels at the end of a word where it doesn't really go. Well, let's try this one. No? All right. This one is table. Table. Okay, so I had to change the spelling to put the vowel where it really goes in the sound. Because of course we don't say table. There's a vowel sound in there. It's as someone told me, every time you open your mouth in a word, that's a vowel. Every time you open your mouth is a vowel. So you can say a word, cover your mouth, table, and you know that there's two vowels in there. And you know that that second vowel is between the B and the L. So we'll try another one. How about we'll try this one.
Oh, I can talk now.
There you go. Okay, who wants to read that one?
Gold.
There you go. Okay, so we're starting to get the concept of this. So what I'm going to do now that we have this concept down is I'm going to continue this with English consonants, but we're going to use the Hebrew vowels. I'm going to go over the Hebrew vowels. We're going to play that game again with the English consonants and Hebrew vowels, and then we'll work up to Hebrew consonants, Hebrew vowels. I think we have the time for it, and I think this is going to go well. Okay. I'm also going to tell you the pronunciation that I'm about to give you is not, and I want to emphasize, is not the current modern Hebrew pronunciation. It is also not the orthodox liturgical pronunciation. Particularly the pronunciation that I use is closest to the pronunciation that I grew up with from my dad's side of my family, which is in Judaism, one is supposed to take on the customs of the father's side and the religion of the mother's side. So my dad's family is from Iran, and that makes a big difference in these first two vowels. In modern Hebrew, these are pronounced pretty much identically. In my family, this first one is pronounced ah, and this one is ah. And this one is a lot like this one, but as you can see, it has this one in it, and it just means it's a shorter sound, ah. Or reduced, excuse me, they call that a reduced vowel. So it's shorter than this, it's reduced down. So ah, ah, ah. So you might say, ah would be like, well, here's an English word that would use that vowel. I'm gonna write these all out, and then you guys can take your turn cracking the code and reading them aloud.
Bar.
Close, close. So what I neglected to tell you is that if we don't have anything here, we just go to the next consonant and then go to the vowel. So this means there's no pronounced vowel. That's very close. So this would be bar.
Bra.
There you go. That's why I picked that as an example, because it's a good double purpose, right? So now, anyone?
Cat.
Yeah, cat. There you go. So then we'll keep going. I'll give you some more vowels, and then we'll be throwing out more of these. Okay. Segol says eh. Eh. So it's kind of hard to read. Pretend those are perfectly formed circles. Anyone want to read this one?
Got it, but I don't want to monopolize.
Oh, monopolize. Everyone else is taking it easy. Well, we know that Jose is still working. Michael
Bed.
might still bed. There we go. Right. So there you go. It's pretty easy. We're going to make someone else answer next time, just to make sure that you're not the only one who gets this. Okay. So shva is interesting. People pronounce it in modern Hebrew, conversational Hebrew, Yiddish. It's a stop traditionally. It's an end of a syllable vowel. So really, schwa would be used in something like um, oh, I don't know why I read that. We got to use letters we don't know to make that sentence more. But that says grab, right? And if the next word was like burgers, which we don't have the vowel for burgers yet, then you would see that we need to break up the B. And so it has something to do with pronunciation, but it's not voiced per se. Now, people like to use it as like a very short I. So like I'm trying to think of a word that we might pronounce that way in English. Well, the example in Hebrew would be, so I can either pronounce this word here, this word we're looking at right here is the name of the letter. So I would pronounce it shva. So there's really no vowel sound between the SH sound, sh, and the V sound, shva, right? It's a diphthong. It flows perfectly to the next sound. I don't open my mouth anymore and make a vowel sound. But some people will pronounce it shava. And there's that slight sound in there. Shava, shava, shava versus shva. So properly, if we're speaking with intention, in my opinion, it's shva. So there is no sound in there. There's no vowel sound in there, and it's a diphthong. It's two consonants that flow into each other. Okay. Chataf segol is, for all intents and purposes, a shva appended to a segol. It's a, you really pronounce it essentially as a segol. It matters, but it doesn't matter for where we're at right now. Okay. Chirik makes an E sound, like E. So like if we said this is chirik, it says deer. Chirik maleh is this one, and it's again hard to illustrate with English. So it is the same vowel with a dot underneath. It happens to have the letter yud following, and it just slightly modifies that vowel sound, not perceptibly. Okay, cholam chaser. This is the dot up here. It makes the O sound. So this says door, and this says deer. And under no circumstances does this say red, because Hebrew goes from right to left. Right. But if we wanted to say red, we would write it like this. Oh. Red, right? Red. If we want to say read, we would write it like this. Read. If we wanted to say rad, we would write it like this. Rad. If we want to say rod, we would write it like this. Rod. If we wanted to say road, we would write it like this. Road. So now we get into these next letters here. We have cholam mala. I'm reading the English transcription and therefore unable to pronounce it. Cholam maleh. And that is another way that you'll see it done. You'll see road written essentially, again, with Hebrew letters all, not just one Hebrew letter drawn in the middle, but o, the vav, the letter vav is put in there, the 10th spike from our pictographic writing yesterday, with the dot above it, and then duh. There's also shuruk, which is how we make u, and that has vav also, just carrying the dot in its belly. right? So this would spell, who wants to read this one? I want to make sure I didn't lose everyone. If no one can answer this, that tells me that I did lose you guys and I got to take it back a step.
Didn't lose me.
All right, what's this one? Someone give this to me. All right, Spoonie, I'm calling on you then. Read this for me.
Rude.
Rude. Yeah, just rude. Rude. Right?
That's a long diacritical mark.
Oh, this thing on top was the arrow showing the reading direction.
Oh,
That's me.
the non-dotted guy is
So this guy?
it's long. Yeah, that guy.
Right. So that is a letter, the letter Vav, carrying the mark in its belly, and the letter becomes actually silent when it's carrying the mark.
Okay.
It's a weird thing. And now we have kibbutz. Which is 3 dots like this and makes the exact same sound. Rude. This says rude. And finally, we have this one. In modern Hebrew, especially European influenced, it has an A sound. I learned it as a short E. Shorter than segol. So segol would be like the difference between this one, the E, and this one is like I'm trying to again think of an example in English. Okay, so the word bet, I'm going to place a bet. I would write in English or with English letters in Hebrew like this, bet. But the word betting, where the E is a little clipped and shorter, I would write like this. With just the 2. And actually, that carries over to the words bed and bedding. I don't know if you hear it in the speech. If we had sound waves to look at, you would definitely be able to see it. But the difference between bed and bedding and the length of that vowel sound is slightly different. I know this is highly technical and nobody here signed up for like a anthrolinguistics class.
I did.
Okay, well, there we go.
It's the difference between bed and bedding.
Yeah, and so this would say bedding, right? Bedding. You have a diphthong ng. So that's doing this with English letters, which in some ways maybe made it easier, in some ways made it more confusing. I'd like to move on to do it with Hebrew letters and hopefully disambiguate and undo any harm I did by doing it with English letters. All right. I saw somebody joined us and bailed. They were like, this shit's intense. Here it is with Hebrew letters. And I'll go through it from top right up here. Da, da, de, or de, di, do, 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 duh. Well, not duh, duh. It's a pronounced duh. So da, 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 de. I don't know if you guys can see my annotations. Let's bring it around with the arrow. Da, da, de, di, do, do, duh. Right? It's just a duh. Doesn't really have a pronounced emphasized vowel, but there's definitely voice still going after you make the consonant sound. So let's go revisit the letters because I just threw a whole bunch of stuff at you. Let's make sure we still remember the letters. I'm going to invite everyone to try to unmute and participate in this if you can. We'll go through the letters. I will point to the letter. You can go ahead and say, well, the name of the letter's there. Pronounce it. This chart even says what sound it makes. For some, it'll give 2 sounds like this. Just go with the first one for now. We'll get into that second bit later. So as the name of the letter is right here. If you remember what it symbolizes, give us that too. So sound it to the best of your ability and symbolize it. All right, I'm going to call on people. So you're going to have to tell me if you don't want to be called on. Michael, I already heard you on mute, so you're getting called on first, sir.
Oh, man.
I'll try to give you an easy one. I know you weren't with us last time.
Yeah, I missed the first class. I haven't had a chance to review it either.
All right, well, we'll work together on this one. So the sound of this letter is given in the bottom here. So can you pronounce that?
Z.
No, it's just a V. Oh, sorry. It's where my arrow, you're looking at the other side. Right here where my arrow is pointing. V.
Oh,
Yeah. No
V,
worries. That's my
V.
bad. V. Yeah, exactly. It's called vav. And it's
Vav.
a nail or a spike or a hook, something that binds two things together is the symbol.
Okay.
And it makes the V sound. So I'll run through everything actually to catch everyone up because I know Michael, a few people joining us who weren't able to join us last time. So I'll say them all, then I'll go through the pronunciation. And when we go through the pronunciation, I'll say where I beg to differ with this chart. Okay. So I'm naming them first. Aleph, Bet, Gimel, Dalet, He, Vav, Zayin, Het, Tet, Yod, Kaf. When I skip, I'm skipping because we haven't covered that yet. Lamed, Mem, Nun, Samech, Ayin, Pe, Tzade, Kof, Resh, Shin, Tav. So that's the Aleph Bet. That's the names of the letters. I'll go through the symbol now. Ox, house, camel, door, window, hook or the spike, the weapon, the cord or string or courtyard, the wheel, the hand, the open palm, the whip, water, fish or snake, pillar, pillar, the eye, the mouth, the fish hook, the back of the head, teeth, and a mark is the symbolic. Now the pronunciation. They say Aleph is silent. It indicates a mouth position and a vocal position different than Ayin. Ayin begins in the throat, Aleph begins in the mouth. There's also, it turns out, a hard Ayin in ancient Hebrew that almost sounds like a G. We'll leave that for now. That said, there is a difference that one is in the mouth, one is in the throat, and they are silent only until you put vowels under them, in which case they indicate and color the pronunciation of the vowel. So that's Aleph. Bet makes a B sound. Gimel, G. Dalet is D, like D. He is H. Vav is V. Zayin is Z. If Zayin appears with a little mark here, it's J or J, like a J. But that doesn't appear in any biblical or classical Hebrew. You'll find it more when they're transcribing European languages. Het makes a H sound. It's in the throat. You'll hear it in European and modern Israeli Hebrew pronunciation in the mouth as a Ch. You can pronounce it like that. In ancient Hebrew, it would have been a guttural in the throat, H, and it would sound more like Arabic. That's probably the more accurate way to pronounce it. Tet is a T sound at the front of the mouth. Yod is Y. The T sound in the front of the mouth, by the way, is T. Yod is Y. Kaf is a K sound at the front of the mouth. Kaf. Lamed is L. Mem sound M. N. S. Now we come back to Ayin, which again is like Aleph, does not have any vowel sound, but it indicates a positioning in the throat. So whatever vowel goes underneath it is going to come from the throat. A, E, versus A, E. I don't know if you guys can hear that on the mic. Let me try. Ah, E. That's all from the throat. And then from the mouth is E. I hope you can hear it slightly different. Pe is a P sound. Tzadi is a Ts sound. So we don't have that in English. It's the diphthong of the T and the S, or the T and the Z. It's Ts. It, like you might say to a cat or something. It's that sound. Gof is a K made with the throat. Kaf is made with the, kaf is made with the mouth. Gof is made with the throat. It's back here. Again, like Arabic. Resh is R sound. Shin is a sh sound. So ts, 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 sh, sh, sh. And tav is a T sound, made in the back of the mouth. T, t. So tet is a T sound in the front of the mouth. T, t. And tav is in the back of the mouth. T, t. It's made with the middle back of the tongue versus the tip of the tongue against the teeth. That's the difference between some of these sounds. In English, we don't make a distinction. So if you can't hear the difference, don't blame yourself. If you speak another language, you may be able to hear the differences a little more clearly. And if you can't hear the difference, do the best you can for now. And there is always tomorrow and tomorrow after to improve. So speaking of improving, first of all, how's everyone doing? We're coming into the practice phase now. That's all the theory. You guys ready to come into the practice phase here? Isaiah, are you with us? Because you carried it all last time. All right, we shall continue. Some practice. So we have the aleph bet here without the labels. Spoonie, I see you're ready to go. So we're going to let you be the brave one for everyone here.
Oh, no. All right.
Yeah, well, that's what we got. Unless someone else wants to hold me up and save you. So you have your letters here. Now, you weren't in last class, but we just did a letter review. I'm going to pick this letter here. First, we'll see if you can just sound it out, letter and vowel, without me giving you the English equivalent. And then, there you go. Excellent. What about this?
No idea.
So the mnemonic that I use for this particular vowel is it has these 3 dots.
Yeah, I see.
Right. So there's only one English letter one English vowel that has 3 lines. So that's le. That's
Le.
that vowel's eh. So there's a little mnemonic for you guys with this vowel. Let's do that one.
The g.
So this consonant is d.
Duh.
But what about the vowel? Raised dot, top to upper deck dot.
Duh.
Do.
Do.
That's
Do.
oh. So there's not really a great mnemonic for telling the dots apart, because if it's here, it's oo, and if it's here, it's o, and if it's here, it's e. So there's no easy mnemonic.
I speak a little Arabic, but it's like almost inverted and different. So
that might be like a handicap for you. Yeah, I've tried to learn Arabic and it seemed kind of twisted and backwards, right? So it may be a handicap for you in this case. How about this one? That's actually not a vowel consonant vowel combination that exists in Hebrew. So that one is valid. So we'll do this.
no, I don't got it.
Okay, so this one is a sound. It's kof, which you have in Arabic. So that's
Yes.
ka, ka,
Gah.
ka. And then this, which is a
Like a ha or a ka.
well, so this is like a K in the back of the throat, right? So it's ka, ka, ka. It's here is where the vocal, yeah. And then This one is like a K in the front, k up here. So this
Yeah.
one is usually like ka, 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 ne, me will be a dot under here, right? Va, va, ha.
Give me the shin. I know that one.
Oh, okay. Okay. Coming up, sir.
Shun. Shun.
Shit.
Shit.
Well, we don't really have ending consonants on the board here, so you can't be blamed for making up your own there.
Well, right.
So one thing to note for magical practitioners already is you may be familiar with the tetragrammaton, right? The holy name of God, which is Yud, and then Hey, and then Vav, and then Hey again, right? It's never rendered with vowels. And so you now know enough about Hebrew pronunciation and Hebrew vowels to see how that's an interesting challenge. Because if you just have these letters, I'm going to write it in the Hebrew order, right to left. You guys have almost certainly seen it in the English order. Just having these consonants, how do you pronounce that? Yeah, people say Jehovah. That's definitely not the case because that's a Y, not a J. So we can throw out Jehovah right off the bat. Right.
So the
Kabbalah
vowel-
goes very deeply into this.
and the
The
vowel,
different- What's that?
not- the vowels are not spelled out entirely.
Yeah, the vowels are not in Hebrew orthography. The vowels do not exist in line among the consonants.
They exist, but you kind of have to know.
Well,
what-
it's just like as we showed last week or last class, and I know not everyone saw it. Oh, whoops.
Yeah.
You know, you can read a sentence without vowels pretty easily in your native language, because the physical form is just modeling the sound form, which you already know, and you can adjust for the difference in model fairly easily. So, especially when you're used to it, right? If that's how you always communicated, it just becomes second nature. So, cool, we'll clear all that out. So we definitely want to go further into practice, but let's bring up this chart here. Let's go back one, not forward to hard mode. Let's go back to easy mode here and just do letters and pronunciations again. B, G, D, H, V, Z, H, T, Y, K, L, M, N, S, A, P, C, K, R, Sh, T. Right? That's the basic pronunciation of the alphabet. That's what you should be practicing. There is a song too. I will teach it to you. It is annoying. It is how we all learned it in kindergarten, but this is how we're going to learn some of these double letters. What I mean by double letters is not the proper term. Oh, actually, it is the proper term. Some of these letters, namely the bet, the kaf, the pay, appear with dots in them that change their consonant pronunciation. The dot appears in the middle here. It looks more or less like this. It's just a circle, so pretty easy for me to draw. There, and here it appears here. Usually a little more clean than that, like here. This turns it from soft to hard. In soft mode, they are all the soft version of the sound. So this is a V. In hard mode, it's B. This is a H. In hard mode, it's K. This is a F. In hard mode, it's P. That's confusing. There are also final letters. We'll get into those later. The final, we'll save them for the end. But this is V or B. And now you're already probably like, wait a second, this is V and this is V. Sorry, this one. Be unconfused. So with no dot, this makes a V sound. This one also makes a V sound. What's the difference? This one is slightly a W sound, which is why sometimes you'll see the tetragrammaton rendered. And that's how we get to Jehovah. With the V sound, and Yahweh with the W sound, right? Because this is somewhere between a V and a W, which is legit. Like we have a sound, we don't have it in English. Other languages do, if I understand correctly, Polish does. But this sound is somewhere between a V and a W. And actually, there's a whole group of sounds that we have connected in English. U, V, and W. And all of those can be made, can be made by this letter right here, Vav. Vav can make, Vav was expanded into all three of these. And the difference is just where you put the dot, right? Because if there is a dot in the belly of the Vav, it makes an U. If there's no dot at all, it makes a V. And it's kind of a W sound too. It can also make an O. So Vav is a very versatile letter. It comes in often in writing the sound of Hebrew. Zayin comes in very often in constructing the letters of Hebrew. We'll get in that in tomorrow's class, or sorry, next week's class. But let's continue now on the letters, and the last of this technical punctuation type stuff to give us basic literacy. So the difference between V and B, the difference between Ch and K, the difference between F and P. It hardens the sound when we put the dot in, okay? You will also see dots on some other letters. Sh versus S makes an S sound when the dot's on the left. You'll see dots coming here. You'll see dots sometimes here. When you see dots on these other letters, in ancient Hebrew, it would have indicated the doubling of a sound. And in ancient Hebrew, it would have happened here too a lot more. And doubling of a sound we don't have in English. In Italian, they do have double letters. It's the difference between the word cello and cello. How you engage the L consonant. Cello, cello in Italian. It's and again, this is a subtle thing of the ear, but that the presence of the double letter makes that sound double up in a very subtle way. And that's where this idea comes from, the hardening of the letters. Because if you double the V, it starts to become a B. It congeals into a V. If you double the it congeals into a K. And if you double the F, it congeals into a P. So again, these are basic ideas to give you guys. There's no expectation whatsoever that you can get this correct, having known it for all of, I don't know, 5 minutes now. Practice, and using the class to practice if you feel comfortable, or just practicing at home. Making flashcards can be very useful. Luckily, there's a lot of resources online. You can just Google Hebrew vowel flashcards and you will find tons of resources, free ones you can purchase, whatever you intend to do. So I want to now, and welcome to everyone who's joined us in the last little bit here. Welcome. We're kind of moving through the lesson at a good clip here. But as we've just reviewed the pronunciation of the letters, who's feeling up to playing some more games? Because here I have a reference for all the vowels. A, e, I, U, O, U. And if you can remember your consonants, we should be able to try this game again, where I write a vowel under a letter and ask you guys to read it. And I'll do that with a few different letters here. And now you got your reference over there. So. All right. So who's ready to give this a shot? I have 4 letters voweled out here. Do we have any willing participants? Michael's in the game.
All right, give me one.
You pick one, sir. You pick
Okay.
the line. You tell me which line.
Um,
We'll do it like bingo, right? You get it, I'll cross it out.
looking at my copy here. That's just that, right?
Ah, nailed it.
That.
Boom. Oh, let me do a check instead of a X. Yes, nailed it. Well done, sir.
Okay.
All right, who's taking the next one? Are you going to make Michael carry this whole thing, everybody? This guy wasn't even here for class 1. He's done this for minutes. You guys can handle this. Isaiah, I'm looking at you because you did this last time. Spoonie's in the mix. Tagged in Spoonie. What you got for me, Spoonie?
Oh, I'll do Olive. That's
All right,
the
well, I
easy-
didn't punctuate Olive. Let me give you vowels on Olive real quick.
Oh no!
Let me give you vowels on Olive real quick. Give you this one. Hopefully you guys can see that mark. That's a circle. Obviously.
Oh,
Close. Close.
oh,
Nope. So the ah sound is this one. Right? You're looking over here.
ooh,
That's your O sound again. So it's
oh,
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 oh, just oh,
just oh.
oh. Yep, very simple. Oh, I'll give you another one on Olive. You don't have to give up yet. Olive's a good one because you really don't have to think about the consonant. You really just make
I was
it-
doing the same thing he was doing just right now. I didn't catch the O that you had off to the left there, and I was trying to pronounce the oo off to the right at the bottom
Ah.
line there.
All right, so now read this one for me.
Ooh,
Ooh, yeah, there you go. There you go. So you kind of have these 3 lines that you're going to check for vowels. This top line, I mean, it's like music. I don't read music, but it's what music looks like to me. There's a middle line, and then there's an underneath line. And those are the areas you're going to scan for vowels, basically. Who wants to try this guy over here? Any of our newly joined members? And welcome to you all for joining us. All right, we'll let Michael and Spoonie show off for everybody for a little bit. This one. Now remember, here's your chart over here.
That's oh wait, I had the wrong one. Yeah, la, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, la is how I would say it, but there are plenty of people who would say la. I'm not gonna hate on that. That's better than you were this morning. So check. I should put am in here for Michael because you got it. And the S here. Here we go. Do some kind of bingo. Whoever gets a line, I don't know. You get a handshake when I meet you. You get a handshake when I meet you either way. So that's kind of a bullshit offer. Who wants to take this one? I know you know the vowel because you guys just did it on Olive not too long ago. I'll let you fix
Ooh.
it. There you go. That's ooh is the vowel. What's the consonant? Remember the consonant sound?
don't have the consonant down.
So that sound is it's a hard sound to make. It's a hard sound to make. We don't have it.
Two.
Ooh,
Sue.
Two.
Sue. You got it. Sue. That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
Ah.
Okay, so now let's try something here. Let's try something here. Let's try this. Actually, try reading some biblical Hebrew if you don't mind. Forgive me, I don't have a indicator here, a stylus tip for this thing that lets me do calligraphy shape, or if I do, I don't know how to use it. So this last letter, mem, since we didn't learn final letters yet, I'm just going to represent it in the primary letter form. It normally would be written differently when it's at the end of a word. Who wants to try reading that word? Go in this direction. That's a word. If you can read that, you're reading Hebrew. That's like in the Bible and stuff. Don't make me call on you guys. It's really down to Michael and Spoonie, because I see you guys are the only two in the game.
I feel like I can't find the letters on my screenshot over here.
Oh, okay. So it's this guy, then this guy. I picked two letters we already did. And then this guy. I'll even help you.
One is se.
Yeah, just read it right across.
I don't know what the second consonant is.
So it's over here. I just wrote it in English. It's L. That makes an L sound. L.
Cell. Cell.
Yeah.
Like that.
Then you
Se,
got,
la,
well, so we've got, let me highlight our vowels for you. First, we have this vowel, eh. We have this vowel, the shorter eh.
Yeah.
Oop.
Se.
That word is tselem. Tselem.
Oh,
I was
Image.
close.
Do you see it though? More importantly than did you get it right? Do you see how that is tselem? Right? So I'll do another one.
That's M that I did not get.
Okay. So we'll do this one. Let me clear this up. Here, Alton. So here we go.
Tell them.
Send them. You guys got it. Boom, 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 boom. Stop there, harden that. So that's just these letters. Aleph, Bet, Aleph again. And it's actually only one vowel this time, this vowel. If you're watching on recording, please try it while these guys are trying it before they give the answer, because this is your chance to learn it.
Abad.
Abba. Yeah, Abba means father. There you go. You said father. You just your first word. Oh,
Yes.
well done. Maybe a different one. Well, let's try that one. Actually, I'm calling on Spoonie for this one. Like I have the power to call on anyone. Like unmute, sir.
Hold on.
Oh, let me indicate your vowels over here. So you're dealing with this vowel.
Yeah.
And you're dealing with this vowel. You're dealing with only this letter, and this letter makes an M sound.
Okay. Ima.
Ima means mother. There you go. You have your first word, sir. Hey, everybody. These guys are speaking Hebrew. Look at that. Let's give you something a little more interesting. How about
Need to get my copy better.
so these dots are a little hard to read. Let me repunctuate it. It's tricky. I wish I could just type in Hebrew on this thing, but I have to copy and paste. It's not very convenient. Change my line size. Okay, so I'll make the vowels very big here. All right, who wants to give that a shot? Those vowels are cartoonishly large, but it'll work. I heard Spoonie saying he's going to get coffee, so I think it's on you, Michael.
Oh man, I don't. The first letter.
I appreciate your courage right here, man. Like I know that you weren't in the first one. I'll write the
Yeah, no. But yeah, I was gonna say buh. Right? Is it the B or the V? It's
Yeah, you got it. B. Yeah, it's got the hard dot in it, so it's buh.
And then that one. Oh, I had chosen that. Oh, that's cough. Cough.
Which one you at? The second letter? I wrote the English letter above it.
Oh, okay. I'm choosing the wrong one then here. Oh, right. Resh.
Yep, correct.
Re. So it would be, so with the R would be re, right? Not
Yep.
the full resh, but
Yep.
re.
Bere.
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 Bereha.
Bere. So this one doesn't have a vowel, so
Oh.
it is pretty silent, right? It's just a mouth position, so you can't make any sound. Then you come to this one, which is shin, so it's sh.
Beresh.
But you have this vowel underneath, so beresh, which we see here. Bereshi, yep, damn right. Here we have another unvoweled letter, so it's really just a mouth position.
She.
And then we come to the last consonant, which is here. Make a T sound.
Bereshit.
Bereshit. You just said the first word of the Hebrew Torah, my friend. That means in the beginning. There you go.
Very nice.
Yeah, really nice. You fantastic job. You have been speaking Hebrew for all of, I don't know, reading Hebrew for all of 20 minutes here, and you're already reading Torah. We're doing fantastically here. So obviously, I'm not going to beat a dead horse and just run the same guys through practice over and over. But I definitely encourage everyone who's watching, listening, whether you're watching live, watching or recording, to practice these things. And I will, if you can't find resources, I need you guys to let me know. Let me know in the comments if you're watching on recording, or let me know in the chat if you're watching live, and I'll get you practice sheets. There are literally hundreds of them online, freely available. So if you can't find them, I'm happy to collect them for you, but usually you can. So we can get a little more intense with the vowel practice, but now we have no labels. We have no vowel answers. Are we ready to try this one, or we want to try to save this maybe for next week? You tell me. If anyone's game for this, I'm game to run this little section of our game. But if not, we're at a fine place to wrap up for this week, and continue next week after a little practice. So that I leave in y'all's hands. If you're watching this on recording, you get to pick if you attend live. Spoonie, I saw you just unmute. You ready to do this?
No, I was gonna say I need to learn my consonants better.
Okay, so go back and review
Yeah,
episode 1.
Yeah.
And that'll be what we'll do. So we'll have everyone review episode 1 and review this again between now and next Monday a couple times. Get your notebook going, write your notes. Folks who are looking for the recordings, I'll be sending out an email with the links to YouTube, but just know that they're on my YouTube channel. They are on my Instagram bio link. You'll find them there. Every single class, I'll post them there. I'll also try to make it a point to email them around so everyone has them, but they're freely available on YouTube. If you're watching this on YouTube, if you just stumbled upon this in some way or another, thank you for joining us. Thank you for coming to these lessons. But as you might see, attending live is going to be a lot more valuable. You can run through the exercises with us, share your questions and things of that nature. There's a link in the description of this video to go ahead and access registration for the class. That registration is purely donation based. You can set your donation amount and you can choose to pay however much you want for this course. If you don't want to go through my website to register, that's absolutely fine. You can just tune into the YouTubes, follow me on Instagram. I drop all my links everywhere as much as possible to be able to bring you in. The suggested per class donation is $26 because that is the gematria value of the Tetragrammaton. You can use that link that you'll find in the description to make donations. But this being a donation-based class means if you can donate $1, donate $1. If that's the amount of value and the amount of appreciation that you have here, if you appreciated $1 worth, donate $1. If you appreciate $1,000 worth, donate $1,000. If you appreciate it 50 cents worth, $0 worth, $10 worth, $20 worth, whatever it is, show your appreciation. That's what allows us to keep doing these things. It allows me to set the time out to do this and to answer and respond to your questions and to pull together the materials, create these presentations, pay for the hosting, all that other good jazz. Speaking of the hosting, last order of business. Last week, I showed you guys a website, HebrewStudents.hoodoomoses.com. I showed you the URL, HebrewStudents.hoodoomoses.com. The DNS is set up for that. I just have to populate it. So I'm going to be populating that. That will be live by the time we go into lesson 3. It'll have all the graphics that we've used as references. It'll have these presentations or at least links to them, and it'll have the videos to date. So that'll kind of be the hub. You'll be able to go there and it'll be the student hub right at that URL, and you'll be able to access that 24 hours a day and keep up with your studies. So with that said, I hope you guys have a good time practicing. I hope you've enjoyed today's lesson, had a little bit of fun with the games. I know it's kind of inherently a sort of dry technical thing that we're going across here, but this is the necessary groundwork. We want to be able to, converse on these things, have a frame of reference to discuss these things once we get into drawing the pentacles, which we're coming up to pretty quickly here. There's only one more of these sort of setup classes. So once again, I thank you for tuning in. I thank you for watching the video, tuning into the live class, and we'll catch you guys all next week, I guess, is when it is. Next Monday is the next class. So tune in and we'll see you then.